Welcome to the Gleeful Meeple, a podcast all about board games where strategy meets laughter and the black market doesn't always look that bad. In this episode, we're joined by a special guest to talk about all things board game content creation. We put people in jail and help build the cathedral in this week's game of the show, Architects of the West Kingdom. And you, the Gleeples, get to play along as the hosts get put in the hot seat with this week's game challenge. As a royal architect, you want to impress the king and maintain your noble status. But these are treacherous times, and rival architects will stop at nothing to slow your progress. Will you remain virtuous or be found in the company of thieves and black marketeers? Hey, fellow architects.
Well, hello.
Hey, James. It's Emily.
Dwayne's here.
I'm JK.
Oh, hi. I'm Paula.
And this is James. I have a riddle for you guys.
Oh, okay.
The island is dangerous, though you'll find no spirits here.
Oh, dope.
You're not alone, and new challengers appear.
I feel like that's a red herring.
Your foes are many, the count is high. Pushing onwards now is risky, for the end is nigh.
I have a guess.
Oh.
Band
dope.
together to lead the charge.
I have an answer.
You're only as strong as you are large. So JK has it.
Band together and you're large and there's a bunch of you and they're new challengers and I don't know.
There might be some conflict in this board game. Ish.
Yeah.
Nobody else has it, huh?
I want to hear what JK says.
I feel pretty confident in my
Can we
guess.
hear the answer first?
I feel pretty confident in my guess of Ethnos.
It is. How'd you pronounce it?
Ethnos?
Ethnos. You've Ethnos. It's not A-E.
We got a real Agricola situation on our hands.
It's 8 notes.
You are right, JK. It is Ethnos.
I forgot that took place on an island.
It's an island. The count is high player count.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. That's a good one.
Oh,
Band
got it.
togethers.
Band
Do the bands of your cards.
Well, I hope you're proud of yourself.
I am pretty proud of myself. I wrote that this morning, and I giggled. So, well, guys, we have a fun show today. But before that, we have a guest with us.
Yes.
Before it gets fun, we got to talk to this guest.
Wait a minute.
Let's hold off on the fun for a minute here.
Please.
Paula, welcome to the
no
show.
Fun. Oh, hi. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We are so glad to have
Fun
you.
fact, everyone. James and I went to high school together.
All right.
It's crazy.
So,
Feels like yesterday? No. It feels like a long time ago.
You know, it does and it doesn't. Have
Yes.
you gone to any high school reunions? Because I did not go to.
Absolutely
mine.
not. No. I always get those
I was like,
invites
no.
that come through randomly on Facebook, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm okay.
No, that's
skip
what
that.
we just had our 10-year last year, and I was not able to make it. But that was the first opportunity for me to go to a reunion. Have y'all, Dwayne, JK, have y'all ever been?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I've never gone. What kind of annoys me, though, we live here in Nashville, Paula, and I get friends from Indiana, where I went to high school, all the time, that post on Facebook or post on Instagram about how much fun they had on their weekend Nashville trip, and they're friends with me, and I'll go, you know, I live here,
excuse
right?
me?
We could have gotten
Yep.
together. Yeah, never.
Oh, I feel like, as an interesting side note, I said I have absolutely never been to a high school reunion, and my high school is about 25 minutes from me.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have no
It was-
excuse.
No excuse.
So that's
No, my
another
excuse is simply I don't want to go.
that's another fun fact. Between Dwayne and I, we both went to the same high school, just about 20 years
20 years
apart.
almost exactly, I think.
But yeah, we were in marching band together, and
Yes, we were.
You know, I don't know if I'd call marching band a hobby per se, but I've always viewed it as kind of like a niche thing. If you're in it, you get it. If you're not, then you don't get it. And then
Yeah, like if you know, you know, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
and
James-
then 20 years later, here we are in another niche
In
hobby.
another hobby. That's
Longtime
awesome.
listeners to the
Yeah,
show will
right.
probably know this already, but what instrument did you play?
So I played a couple of different instruments.
Okay.
I played the baritone, which in marching band, it's not one that you hold in your lap. You hold it. You actually, it's like a trumpet. Picture
Yeah.
It looks like a big, fat trumpet.
Yes.
The bell is so
Yeah.
large.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I switched to a mellophone, which listeners
I
probably
wondered.
haven't.
Because you and Dean Berman also played mellophone, right?
Yes.
It's crazy the things you remember.
Yeah.
My most used skill from high school is in marching band, you learn to take, I think they're called 8 to 5 steps.
Yep.
So it's the size of step you take, so it's standardized. It's so you take like 8 steps in between hash marks on the field, the football field, or whatever it is.
Oh.
But I use those steps all the time if I need to measure a
Measure out.
distance.
Yep.
I use it. I'm like, this is my most used skill
Wow.
from.
Because it's
So-
eight
so-
steps per 5 yards. Yep.
Similarly,
Yeah.
not for measuring, but I would agree is my most skill for marching band is
Counting to 8.
stepping, but the actual how you step, the heel to toe.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm trying to keep my balance or carry glasses of water or not spill them or something, you go heel to toe very smoothly, and your
Roll
head
step.
Yeah.
and your head doesn't bob.
Trying to stabilize
Yeah.
your upper
I've used
body
that
while
my
you're
entire
moving.
life.
I just realized I spill so much water because I was never in marching band. That's
Yeah, exactly.
Finally,
That's
it all comes
exactly
together.
why.
Wouldn't that be variable though, based on the size of your feet? Like I imagine, Paula,
Well, that's why.
you and I have differently
I'm sorry, I've
sized
interrupted
feet.
you.
No. You and I have
That happens
differently
a lot
sized
on this
feet.
show.
So you have to adjust your size
Stride.
step.
Yep.
So we'll be having a different size stride, but we will each be taking 8 steps to get between yard lines.
So I just take 8 steps to basically go nowhere with the size of my feet.
Well, I think it's like
5 yards.
you learn how you have to step. And again, I'm trying to understand. You have to learn how you step to get 8 steps between those marks.
Yes.
Is that the
Yes.
idea? Okay.
Yeah, so you are adjusting your natural stride to do it. Yeah.
And it's more awkward, and it looks more awkward for tall people with long legs because you're taking very short strides compared to normal.
Follow-up question. And you have to remember how to play an instrument while you're doing this?
Yep.
And you have
That is
to remember that
nuts.
you're hitting specific marks
Nope.
on the field because you're making shapes while you go.
I miss marching band.
And the music's
Let's
memorized.
listen to a band podcast.
I know.
Forget board games. We're just going to talk about band.
So we'll transition. I have a story to tell real quick before we get rolling, and it's a story I want to tell because I want to hold myself accountable to what happened.
Oh, okay. Let's go.
I want to be transparent.
Wow. We went from band talk to like confessional?
This is a safe space, right, guys?
Yeah,
This is
more or
where-
less.
Super safe. Super safe.
So we had Tennessee game days here recently, a couple weekends ago in Nashville.
So much fun.
Awesome. Not biannual, twice annual. That's the way to say it.
I think
right?
biannual
Biannual
works too.
also works.
Yeah.
Convention.
It's one of
Can
those
mean
weird things.
either.
Happens
one of
twice a
those
year,
confusing
spring and
words.
fall. You can also use a lot more words to say it.
Fort Yearly? Could we work that into a thing?
And it's a 3-day board game convention here in Nashville. Long and short of it, you don't picture vendors and publishers. It's just 500-600-ish people, I think, just playing games for 3 days straight. It's awesome, a lot of fun. And I want to paint a picture for you guys. I'm gonna think about this. So you've invited some non-gamer friends over for game night. And because they've heard you like board games, and they're like, "Oh, we want to play. We play games too." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So you have the friends come over, and you're really excited, and so you bring out insert heavy Euro game here. You're ready for the game night.
Oh, no.
Darwin's Journey, or shoot, you go Lacerda, something, I don't know, whatever. And they sit through the teach, and they're shaking their head. They're acknowledging that they get it, and you're like, "Okay, this is going great." And then 2 turns in. You look up and you can just see the face, the looks on their faces.
The reality is you've broken them.
The eyes glossed over, and you start to question if you made a bad decision or not.
Oh no.
So take that scenario, and now this is Tennessee game days, night 2, 11 o'clock?
Late. It was late.
It was late. I'm playing a game with JK, friend of the show, Mike and Lampley, and we sit down. And this is coming from the bar where we had a couple of drinks. I'm not a night person, and I'm like, I've never played brass before. We should,
Oh,
we should
no.
totally play
at
brass.
11
Start
p.m.
at 11 o'clock at night.
I feel like he made a lot of bad decisions.
And worth noting, I requested brass because I love playing brass. I do not like teaching brass, but I knew we had 3 of the 4 players were experienced brass players, and then James.
Yeah, and I was like, it's always been on my not shelf of shame, but my what is it?
Like a wish list?
Wish list, I guess. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, blind spot. There we go. It's always been a blind spot in my game. And I've just never played it. And I was like, I mean, sure, it's late, you guys, but let's go for it. And I, even heavy games is not a big deal.
Oh, jeez.
Guys, so we got to the teach. Mike is teaching it. Did a great teach, by the way. If Mike's listening to this, you did awesome. And I understood every rule you taught, Mike. I understood everything as you laid it out. And then we started to play the game, and I realized I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't.
no.
We're 2 turns in. I'm taking actions, but I don't know what those ramifications. I've totally
Yeah.
blocked off JK.
Yeah.
I screwed him over.
For the fact he didn't know how to play the game and didn't understand it, he totally eliminated me from the game in the early part of the game. It was fantastic.
That's crazy.
So we are 2 turns in, and here's the transparent moment, guys. I had to back out of the game. I actually said, "We got to end the game, guys." Because if I kept,
so sorry.
if I kept going, it would have ruined it for everybody else. I'd be taking actions that really didn't make any sense. It would mess up the whole balance of the game. So I had to ask to end the game for the first time ever.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm gonna buy it and then learn it when I'm not drinking at 11 o'clock at night, and become a brass master.
I'll play it with you again.
Well done. I like Brass Master. It's good.
Braster, one could say.
A braster.
Yeah.
I'll make a name tag for myself once I learn it.
Yeah.
Was it Birmingham
Well,
or
honestly,
Lincolnshire?
Birmingham.
Okay.
Good for you for being like, you know what, I have to be honest. I can't, because I would have just struggled through it until 2 in the morning and then later gone on a podcast and been like, so one of my worst gaming experiences. And told the story like that.
Pretty much, yeah. But then, I think y'all were appreciative. It's like better now than an hour and a half in. And
We were coming up on wrapping up the first era of the game. The game is played over 2 eras. You've got the rail era and the canal era, or vice versa. We were kind of winding down the first era when the look on James' face showed this is going nowhere. We need to stop now.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't have a problem with heavy games, but it just it didn't click. I played Nucleum. Nucleum's great. Very similar systems of networks and rail for whatever reason. So
I feel like we had that similar experience with PAX Renaissance. Not you and me, friend of the show, John, and I played it with 2 people that had played it before, knew it, and whatever. And then it got to a point where it's like, okay, how can we win you the game? You're the closest to winning. How do you win? How can we get you to that win condition?
I have definitely had that situation
How do we
before.
make this game over?
Yeah.
How do we?
Oh, that's my wife's specialty. What's the fast button?
Yeah.
Does this game have a skip intro button?
Well, thank you for sharing, James. I hope you have many brass playing experiences ahead of you yet.
It's a solid game.
And-
I've played it once, and I remember liking it quite a bit.
And if any listeners out there can relate, you're not alone. Hopefully this story makes you feel better.
It's good to shed light on these issues. you know?
Yes. Hard-hitting journalism. That's what we do here.
All right, are we ready to dive into this interview, guys?
Yeah.
Let's go.
I don't know.
Let's learn more about Paula.
Yes, I am so excited about this, Paula. And I know you said you have kind of dabbled in our show a little bit. What you probably don't know behind the scenes is between the 4 of us, I am consistently the least prepared for any episode we're recording. I generally go in, no notes, just going to improv my way through this and hope it all comes out all right. And I even told the team that I was going to do this for your interview. They started putting together a list of questions, and I said, I'll just figure it out when we're sitting down. It'll be fine. And then I realized this is a big deal. This is our first interview with somebody that's a known entity in the industry. I need to jump on Google. I need to do some research. I need to put some questions together. So I guess I'm going to kick this off. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Wow,
right,
I
so-
feel humbled by the fact that I warranted preparation.
Yeah.
Honestly,
And I put
Be
a lot.
careful.
I put a lot of work into this, so let's see where this goes.
Okay,
so
great.
Listeners, we have
I'm
Paula,
ready to be humbled further.
Yeah, listeners, we have Paula Deming with us, and Paula, as I was going through my research on you, I was just blown away by not only your involvement in the board game industry, but your experience in cell signaling, in growth control pathways, molecular pathology, and cancer biology. Your research indicating that the gene STK11 functions as a tumor suppressor in non-small cell lung cancer was fascinating.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, isn't it funny how there can be multiple people in the world with the same name as you?
I have
she's
never
good.
had that situation.
She's good. JK, are you talking about Dr. Paula Deming?
Dr. Paula Deming from the University of Vermont, absolutely.
Yeah. She's, I've never met her, but this happens all the time, and I hope that it happens to her the other way around.
Oh my God, that would be
to her
amazing.
doctor
That would be great.
conference, and people are like, "So, talk to us about Castles of Burgundy," and she's like,
Okay.
Sounds like you've received some emails on this before.
Guys, this is the reason we need a production team and not let the talent kind of write their own scripts. So,
JK, do you have any other questions?
I'll turn it over to you guys to recover for a little bit. I'll chime in a little bit.
All right. Thanks for whatever that was, JK. But now I can't think of anything else but Dr. Paula Deming having to take questions about board games from random people. That's amazing.
Can we have her on in a future episode and kind of turn the tables? And see?
That would be weird. Maybe she loves board games. I mean, we don't know for sure, right? So,
We
There's only
don't
one way to
know.
find out.
Just a season of Paula's.
oops, all Paula's.
No, but really, Paula is, man, you do a lot with board games. Like we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
we know each other from high school, and happenstance would have it that we both end up in the same hobby. So I thought it would be fun to reach out and see if you wanted to hop on. But
Yeah.
but man, you have. I'm curious. So you have a lot of YouTube personality, content, just involvement, but not just that, all over the place. But before we dive into just kind of what you do with board games, how did you go from being just a normal board gamer and then turning it into part of your career and what you do? And I guess one additional question: what was your first hobby board game that kind of caught you?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'll start with that. So, growing up, I loved Clue.
Okay.
Which I think makes some sense because I'm an actor. And so there was something about Clue where I felt like I was like living out a story. It's a shame I didn't discover Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't discover tabletop RPGs until I was like 30. So it's a shame.
Oh, wow.
But I was like, wow, if only I had known about this 15 years ago. I would have been less cool, if you can imagine, but happier probably.
But cool now, because now it's a cool thing. So
Exactly. Now it's a cool thing. But yeah, so the first game that really got me was I was dating my then boyfriend, now husband, and he was into games. And so he had pulled out a game of Settlers of Catan. He has like a first edition copy of this game. It's like you wouldn't even recognize the board game cover at all. It looks ridiculous. And I have no memory of what happened during that game. None. It did not stick with me. I was like, okay, whatever. But then for our second game, he pulled out Betrayal at House on the Hill. And I don't know if you've played this game, but it's a game where you are a character with little like flavor text and stats and like age and weight and height and whatever. And then you're like all going through this haunted house and you're flipping over tiles as you go to explore the house. And the tiles trigger different events that are all kind of horror themed. And at some point, something happens that triggers the haunt. And at that point, one of the players at the table, because up to this point it's been cooperative, one of them becomes the traitor. They get their own set of rules for the scenario you now find yourself in, and then you all try and play through this scenario. And I was like hooked. I was the traitor. I won the game. I was like, I'm sorry, board games can do this? Yeah. Like I can be a character in a story through a board game? And then that was it. It was over for me.
That's impressive
That's
that
the
you
game
won
that
the
hooked me.
game.
Yeah.
Usually, whoever becomes the trader, I mean, it's not like here's a couple extra rules. It's like here's a rule book. Here, go read this for a second.
Yeah, go read this for 15 minutes.
Well, I have a question about
Kind of a broken game.
I can't tell you anything about your character without you revealing too much to me. So good luck.
Exactly.
Good luck, new player.
Yeah, figure it out.
So you mentioned that you're an actor, and I know that your own YouTube channel, Things Get Dicey. You you have some top tens and things, but a big bulk of it is like sketch comedy.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Really
videos.
funny stuff, by the way.
Thank you.
It's-
I started doing sketches. It was because so I'd been playing games for I don't know, 5-7 years goes by, and we're getting deeper and deeper into the hobby, and we're watching a lot of like Shut Up and Sit Down and the Dice Tower, and I'm looking around at all this content I'm seeing at the time, and I'm like, there are no women in any of these videos. What is happening? Because my own gaming group is like 50-50. Like I know women are playing games. Why aren't they in these videos? And, I was in Los Angeles and I had made already, countless, web series for YouTube that, like 100 people would watch and that's it. And, so I had lots of experience with making stuff like that. And I was like, should I just like be a woman who's like making some board game videos? Should I just like do that? And then I was like, well, what would I make? I don't want to do reviews. I knew I didn't want to do reviews because at the time I was like, well, I don't have a journalistic background. I don't know what I'm talking about. And for me, that felt important. So I was like, and who cares? I'm just some random person. Who cares what I think about this game? And I was like, but I do comedy. I do improv. I do sketch comedy. We're always making jokes about the games we're playing when we play them. What if I make little sketch videos about board games? And that's kind of how the idea came about. And I'm really lucky my partner went to USC Film School for cinematography. So when I was like, I'll just use my phone to film this video, he was like, you will absolutely not use your phone.
No.
I can picture him just smacking it out of your hand. Absolutely not.
I was like, I will help you film this. And so the video just looked good as well. And I was like, I don't know, maybe in a dream world, 500 people will watch this. And I don't know, some people saw it, like Tom Vassell mentioned it on a Dice Tower, like a board game breakfast or something. And then like more people saw it. And then enough people watched it that I was like, I guess I got to make a second one.
The crowd demands.
And that's how I started making videos.
All right.
That's awesome.
There was an
Kind
episode, yeah. There was an
Blown up from
episode
there,
of
yeah.
yours that I was sitting on the couch surfing YouTube one afternoon, and I don't remember the exact content, but it was centered around reading through the rule book, and the key was put the board in the center of the table.
That's one of my favorite ones we've done.
It was great. And so I'm just kind of sitting there just mildly chuckling at this video, and I look over and my wife is just staring at me. Now, she is a board game tolerator, but not a board game player. And she goes, this girl just described you in this video. That's you in a nutshell. And I was like, great. So I've been a subscriber ever since.
Yay. Well, thank you.
So there wasn't like some grand plan to be like, I'm going to get in the board game industry. It was just, I'm going to start making some videos and Things Get Dicey was that jump.
Yeah, I was just like, I'll just do this. And, being in Los Angeles and trying to create some sort of acting career, so much of it is you are kind of told what type you are, and then that's what you get seen as, and that's the kind of role you're going to be allowed to play or audition for. And in making my own comedy videos, I was able to cast myself in roles that I would never get. Like I have one where I'm like a noir detective, and I would never be actually professionally cast in that role. And there's one where I'm like, I dress up as like the human version of the old mascot for a Board Game Geek before they changed the weird orange thing.
Right.
Like his name is like, it's not Eddie, but it's something like that. And so I have a video where I'm him. I'm like, it's the weirdest thing I've ever done. It's like I would never get to do this otherwise. And so it's a way for me to just be the most ridiculous parts of myself.
So not just
Yeah,
a creative
and-
outlet for board games, but creative literally for acting and what you do professionally. But
Yeah. And then that kind of pivoted into opportunities to do entertainment within the board game world professionally. You know, I've got the opportunity to do kind of hosting work and gameplay work with Watch It Played, which has been really very cool. And I'm on a podcast, This Game is Broken. And, you know, I've had the chance to be in like some other channels like videos, you know, playing games and things like that. And it's just kind of like opened doors for me in a way that I was not expecting.
Man, that's so cool. So going back to like the timeline, we talked about like the beginning of things get dicey. Was it moving to LA, things get dicey, other acting like scenarios, and then like more board games? Like, did these happen at the same time? You are also the first guest we've had that has her own IMDb page, which I think is awesome. So I'm just like curious about how like it wasn't always board games, right? Like you've done other like
Right.
acting gigs.
Yeah, so it was really, I moved to LA to pursue an acting career. And so, you know, I've had small things here and there, you know, little independent things. Like I said, a bunch of very small, like web series that no one watched. I've done like 2 actual television roles, but most of that happened before, you know, one of them. Yeah, I think actually all of that was really before I started doing Things Get Dicey, because a lot of that came out of a desire to be like, oh, this other stuff kind of isn't taking off, even in a slow way. Like it's so difficult, and you know, little things trickle in here and there, but you have no control over what happens in your acting career. So much of it is just waiting for someone else to give you permission to even audition for the part. And so I think my desire to make like entertainment around board games, comedy and things around board games, was because I was like, well, it's something I can do myself. I have control over it, and it's something that I already love, and there's nothing like this happening for it. So I'm just going to make it because I have this need to like make something, and I can have control over this. So really a lot of the acting stuff came, and then I started doing the board game stuff, and that is really where, again, like the doors started opening for me.
Nice.
So then I was like, well, that's what I should be focusing on pursuing, because that's still performance. It's just in like a different kind of way than how you imagine when you like move to Hollywood what you're going to end up doing.
So speaking of your television appearances, Molly Graham, Grey's Anatomy, season 15, episode 5, the episode Everyday Angel.
She even has her own wiki page.
Yeah, it's fantastic. so you played a patient suffering from a severe asthma attack.
Yes, I did.
Do you have asthma?
I don't have asthma. I looked up before the audition. What's really funny is that character is 19, and I did that a number of years ago now. So I was like way too old already for it. And I was like, what do 19-year-olds wear? What do I wear to this audition? And I was like Googling like Gen Z, you know, like, like what do I wear? And then I had to basically wheeze for the audition. Like there's no lines. She's there, and she's like wheezing and dying. And then a hot doctor intubates her. You know,
we'll come back to him later. I've got a follow-up question on him. On a medical procedural drama, do they provide like a ailment coach to tell you how to look like you have?
Oh,
they seriously do.
So there was a medical advisor, like a consultant on set, and their job is to tell the doctors what to do, like the actors playing the doctors what to do, and also to kind of tell you what to do as the person suffering. My mother-in-law is also a nurse, so I talked to her a little bit about it, and I looked up YouTube videos of people having this kind of asthma attack. So I knew you do this like, I don't remember what they call it, tripoding, but you like, because you're trying to get, this is such a weird thing to talk about, you're trying to get your breath in, so there's a way you brace yourself, and there's a way they hold their chest, and then I just like practiced that and wheezed, and I guess it was good enough to get the part. But it was really, It was actually, I almost had a panic. This is a really embarrassing story, but the set for Grey's Anatomy.
Well, we've learned this is a safe space, so.
It's like a real hospital. It's not like they've built it, but it looks so real. And so we're like in this thing, you're like in your wardrobe. You're just a random person who's there to help get the scene done. So they're only sort of paying attention to you. The main actors are just like trying to rehearse, looking like they know what to do if someone's having an asthma attack. So we had this like rehearsal where I'm in like an exam room off to the side that they aren't filming in right now, with these actors playing doctors, they're being told what to do to like treat me. And they're like, they have like the breathing thing, where you pump the air in the bag. So they're like shoving this thing on my face and pushing air into my face. And it's like, it felt so real. I almost was like, I have to quit. I can't do this.
Oh, man.
It was
Actually having a panic attack.
Almost gave me a... Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you can't quit. That you'll never work again. You can't, and they finished the rehearsal, and thank goodness that medical consultant looked at me and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm kind of claustrophobic. And the way they were putting that thing on my face, and she's like, okay, I will talk to them and I will let them know, like, to do it like this. And like, they made some adjustments to what they were doing. But I had a moment where I was like, I can't do this. It's too real. It feels too real. It ended up being fine. All the actors were so nice. It was fine. But there was a moment when we were rehearsing, I was like, nope. I can't do this.
And Dr. Andrew DeLuca famously died 2 seasons later. Yeah, I don't know if you know that.
Spoiler alert.
No.
He was
I haven't actively watched Grey's Anatomy for a long time.
Well, and here's my pitch to you. He was stabbed by an unseen assailant who they weren't even sure whether it was a man or a woman. They tried to save him. He later died in the episode. Paula, it could have been Molly Graham. Molly Graham could have come back.
Bring me back.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
I wish. It could have been Molly Graham. He did save my life. So I don't know what my motivation would be for stabbing him.
I have an idea
But,
that maybe you're a little unhinged. Maybe as a youth you were part of a soccer team and you landed in the remote Canadian wilderness and had some psychological trauma.
Hold on. I think this is a different show, JK. Yeah, that's Yellow Jackets.
Now JK has me ready for that Yellow Jackets crossover.
It's time for a crossover, yeah.
We'll workshop this. We'll figure something out for you.
Paula sounds like one of those people listening from the industry saying, yeah, that's a great idea, JK. We'll definitely consider that for the future.
No, she has her improv training down pat. It is yes and.
So you're bringing it back to board games. I have no segue. I have no good segue back to board games from that. You're rolling things get dicey. You mentioned a few other things that you got to be a part of now with This Game Is Broken, Watch It Played. This Game Is Broken, by the way. I digest board game podcasts like it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I listen to a lot of them. It's one of my favorites. And
Thank you,
listeners of the show. If you've listened to certain episodes, I've a couple of the games that I do here. I've given credit to you guys because I like them so much, so I brought them. We, of course, listeners know we have a game challenge segment, which Paula is actually going to be bringing some of that This Game Is Broken flavor to you later. Going to challenge us a little bit, but if you like what we do on the game challenge segments, guys, find This Game Is Broken. It is just that. It's just back-to-back game challenges with hilarious people. I mean, your entire team over there with you and Matthew and Dave, and then the brothers, Nick and Mike, are just a hilarious group. So
thanks. It's fun.
You're doing YouTube, and then you're on this podcast. What's in terms of content creation? What's it like being involved in multiple different avenues of that, and how did that all come about?
It's exhausting. Well, it's funny. It all started with doing doing things get dicey. And I actually, as I was looking up, I had just started doing a video or two, and I wanted to look up other people who were doing board game comedy. And that's how I found This Game Is Broken. And at the time, Matthew Jude was running the YouTube channel for This Game Is Broken, which it's not really active now. And he had these like news segments that were just like him doing little funny bits about board game news. And I was like, this is such a funny person. And so then I went and I looked him up on Twitter, and he had like posted something about looking for a woman who was good with comedy and improv because they were looking for a third person for a non-board game related podcast they wanted to do. So I just like randomly DM'd him and was like, hi, you don't know me. I think you're really funny. I think I fit this description of this thing you're looking for. And he was like, you know what's funny is I'd seen your videos and I thought you were perfect for what we were looking for, but I didn't know you and I didn't want to just randomly reach out and be a weirdo.
Wow.
So then when you messaged me, it was like perfect. So we started, me and him and Nick Murphy started doing this other podcast together called Death by Monsters, which is a conversation comedy podcast about like
That's funny.
cryptids and like mysteries and stuff. We don't do it anymore. I miss it a lot. But from there, I got to know them. And then when they had an opening in their cast for This Game Is Broken, which I was listening to as a fan, they were like, hey, will you fill in? We need a new cast member. We think you should be the person who does it. And I was like, well, of course, I want to hang out with these people who I'm friends with now. So yes. And so then I started doing the podcast with them. So it all was just kind of, like I was saying earlier, when I started doing Things Get Dicey, it's like doors just kind of kept opening. And that's when you're like, oh, I found something that I think I'm supposed to be doing, because it keeps creating new opportunities. And so as I've met more people, that has then led to some of those people being like, oh, hey, I have a thing I think you'd be right for. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then that next thing leads to meeting another person who then, you know, like it's just kind of been serendipitous, I think.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
how many ongoing projects would you say you have like at a time? Because that's all, like, I think about content creation. It's like, okay, you got podcasts, you got your own YouTube channel, you got this podcast appearance, you got this video appearance. I recently got Parks 2nd edition, and we scanned the QR code video, and you showed up there.
I've done not all the Parks Rules videos, but I did their Nightfall expansion, the Wildlife expansion. I've done a lot of rules videos for Keymaster. And yeah, so we just did this recently, just did this Park 2nd edition.
So, like, you just seem to be like all over the place. Like, how many projects like do you have going on at the same time?
Yeah, it can really vary. I'm actually actively working on scaling back, because this might sound bad, I don't know, but during the pandemic, during lockdown, I knew a lot of people who were like, I have nothing to do, all my work has dried up, I guess I'll bake bread. And I didn't have that experience because I was already working from home. So much of what our industry needed suddenly was live streamed board game playthroughs or content someone's making from home for the internet, because that's the only way we have to interact with this industry. And I was already doing that. And so my work kind of exploded during that time because I was already in a position. The thing I was doing was suddenly needed, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so I've spent the last 5 years kind of really overloaded with a lot of that stuff. And I've been actively this year really trying to pull back because it's been too much. But it's hard to say no when you're a freelancer, right? It's hard to say no to stuff because you're like, well, maybe if I say no, they might not ask me again. Yeah, so at the height of all of that, I was doing like 3 podcasts and live streaming 7 times a week and trying to find time to make a sketch video and, being a part of a video once a month for Watch It Played. And, that's like 6 or 7 things all at once. And I mean, I did burn out. And so that's part of why I'm like, oh, pull back. So right now I'm doing like sometimes videos for Watch It Played and really trying to refocus back in on my sketch videos, the videos I want to do for my channel. I have This Game is Broken. I am doing some TTRPG stuff now, which is very fun. So I've got like a podcast for that and occasional guest appearances with that kind of thing. So there's less happening now.
When do you find time to actually play games?
That's such a good question.
I'm so glad you asked, JK.
It's funny because people are like, oh, you do content about games, so you must be really good at them. And I'm like, I play a game. If I play a game 3 times, I've played it a lot, right? And I'm sure you guys feel this too. Like, you need to have a new game to talk about every episode.
Yep.
So you need to be playing a new game. And I do a lot of like board game playthroughs, filmed or live streamed. And so that's like the new thing. What's coming on Kickstarter? What's just been released? I'm like, okay, I've been booked. I'm being paid to play this game, and I need to learn it and play it. And then next week, I need to learn a new game and play that game. And then the next week, I need to learn a new game and play that game. So I'm constantly learning new games, playing them once or twice, and then having to learn the next new game. So it's not easy for me to play games more than a couple times.
Yeah.
That's what, like, when we started this podcast, I was just thinking, I was like, oh, like, if life gets busy, I know that I have the podcast to play games with. Like, even if it might be like 1 or 2 a month, I'm like, okay, I know I'm getting at least one play.
At least have that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that question, Emily, just about how many things do you have going on all at once, is when I watch YouTube, whether it's board games or my other hobbies. So like going back to your point, Paula, with the pandemic. Another hobby that I'm really, and just lifestyle I'm involved in is gardening, and homesteading became really popular when we were all stuck home. So a lot of big personalities came out of that time with homesteading and animals and chickens and gardening and all that stuff. And
backyard chickens.
It can be
I feel like that's
real
going to really
easy
explode.
to watch them, and then they made a career out of it. And I was like, I'm watching this YouTuber. I could do that. But then what you don't realize is that they have like 7 or 8 different, income streams from the YouTube, and then the podcast, and then the store, and then the this, and then the that. And it's a hustle when you're making your living off of unconventional content creation and means like that. So I've always been curious. It sounds like that's kind of the same for in board games. Is right. This isn't a 9 to 5. You have 5, 6, 7 things in the fire making it happen.
Yeah. Well, it's that like freelance life, right? Like because you don't have that one 9 to 5, whatever, W-2 job that you do that. You're constantly like doing this job now, but you also have this other job you're working on at the same time. But you need to be thinking about the next job, because when these wrap up,
you got to find the
job,
next one.
So you need the next job, and that's just part of like freelancing or self-employment, really.
That's what. Yeah. Do you have a hobby outside of board games you like to do to try to unplug from the grind?
The Minute Cryptic we were talking about
That's
before.
True. Yeah, we did talk about that.
It's hard. It's something I've been trying to like get back a little bit, because there is also that idea of like, you turn your hobby into your job. What do you do to relax? And sometimes I don't want to play a game.
That's what I used to be, a music teacher, and that I hit that hard, because I was like, oh, well, now I need a creative outlet that isn't music. And so that's when I turned to bullet journaling. And so that was my just like making my little planner all cutesy with all the markers and whatever. It's freelance life sounds so tiring.
It can be a lot. I've gotten back into reading, which has been really cool. I used to read a lot, and then I just wasn't making time for it. And in the last 6 months or so, I've really gotten back into like reading, and now that's what I do in the morning when I have my coffee. I'm reading,
There you
and
go.
at night before
That's
I go
awesome.
to bed,
Yeah.
I'm reading, and I'm so happy about it. And they're not rule books I'm reading.
Yes, it is a completely different reading style. Do you have a genre of books that you like to read for entertainment?
I'm bouncing between a couple different things right now. So I really love like sci-fi fantasy stuff, more fantasy than sci-fi. And I've been reading this series by Jim Butcher, who wrote the Dresden Files.
Go on.
It's called the Codex Alera.
Yeah.
And it's like my favorite new series. I've read 4 of the 6 books, and it's like magic and politics, and like it's like elemental magic. I don't know how to describe it honestly without spoiling it, but if you like the Wheel of Time, but you want something that's less like intense on your brain and more like if you like battles, like more like military battles as well, there's a lot of like combat in these books. You should check out the Codex Alera. It's very good.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I am a big Dresden Files fan, and I have heard of that series before, and it's just fallen off the wayside.
It's so good.
And I don't know if anybody here has ever got to meet a celebrity, and once you meet them, you're like, I don't really care for that person that much. Jim Butcher is the exact opposite of that. I got to meet him at Dragon Con, and I'm like,
I was terrified you were going down that ramp for
I was
Paula.
like, I can't believe I love this guy even more after meeting him. He was just the
that's
coolest.
good.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So I'm similar. I've been trying to read more as well, and I've heard that from a few different people. So I wonder if that's just like part of our generation that we read, then we stop, then we come back. But I started off this year with the Mistborn series with Brandon Sanderson.
Yes.
I just started reading some Brandon Sanderson, but like standalone novels. I've read The Emperor's Soul, I think it's called. It's just a little standalone like novella, and then I just read Warbreaker, which is part of the Cosmere universe.
Yes,
I
that's
don't
correct.
know.
Yeah.
But that's all the Sanderson I've done up to this point. But that feels very board gamer appropriate.
Well, now,
author to be getting into.
Yeah, they have the new deck builder-ish game that just came out from Mistborn. But so going from things get dicey to this game is broken. You mentioned Watch It Played, which, I mean, if you didn't, if you're a board gamer, how do you not know who Rodney Smith is, right? In his Watch It Played videos. Super cool that he brought you, and I mean, Matthew is part of that team, Naveen and Monique and Naveen. You're right.
It's Monique and Naveen. Yeah, you gotta say it,
course.
Monique and Naveen. That's so true. Yeah.
And then Chaz, as part of that too. I mean, what a great crew for Rodney to bring on to add to the flavor of that channel. And you guys absolutely kill it.
They're
on
an
there.
amazing group of people. No one I can think of, honestly, that I'm like better suited to collaborate with.
Can I pick your brain
I love
about
Monique and Naveen.
Can I pick your brain about Matthew Jude?
Yes, you can. He's my best friend, so I can tell you anything you want to know.
Okay, so listeners, if you're not familiar with Matthew Jude, let's just go out on a limb and say he has a very distinct accent, which puts him not from the United States. Yet most of his video appearances, he's wearing a state of Tennessee themed baseball cap. What's
he's
the connection
very connected
there?
to Nashville.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
right.
so he has like friends that he's known for years and years and years who live in the Nashville area. So he spent much of his youth visiting and staying for like months at a time in Nashville. So he feels very connected. Tennessee he would consider it to be like his like home state of the U.S. So he's a big Tennessee fan, Nashville specifically.
Well, next time he comes out this way, drop him a hint about our group. Have him come by and play some games with us.
I will, yeah.
And so while you're doing that, Chaz, you just started. I saw. So I used to follow Chaz on his YouTube channel, Paradise, and then he stopped doing it for a long time. But I saw it recently kicked back in and got a new chance of life. What's going on there?
Yeah, so for a while when we all started moving over to Watch It Played, he was just really focusing on doing content for Watch It Played. And then recently was like, I have some ideas for some things I want to do that I think are a better fit for like my own thing rather than trying to shoehorn it into Watch It Played. So he's kind of revived his channel again. He's rebranded it Game Night Picks, which links up with a website he has now that you can use to like organize your game nights. So basically you're like, hey, we're all meeting up at this Tennessee game days, or we're getting together for our game night. We don't want to spend 20 minutes all talking about what we want to play ahead of time. You can go to this site and like put in like your ideas for what you might want to play, and people in your group can like look and like you can basically vote ahead of time and organize your playing. And so it's kind of all connected because he's got a computer coder brain.
Yes.
I've noticed that,
like that.
Yeah, when I'm watching the stuff. But you've been on there quite a bit recently, doing some fun games.
Yeah, so he has this new series. I'm actually going back up this coming week. I'm flying back up to Oregon to film more episodes. He has this new series he's doing called Lost in the Shuffle, which is just like a little like almost like a little talk show kind of thing where there'll be like him and a co-host, and I'm one of them, and we'll like talk about games, or we'll do silly trivia, or we do challenges. We played like blindfolded Jenga for one of them.
Wow.
Like very silly. Like if you're familiar with Good Mythical Morning, that's kind of like his roadmap, his little template for kind of what he's trying to do, but in like the board game world. It's very fun, very silly. Just some buddies sitting around being silly talking about board games called Lost in the Shuffle. Yeah, it's been really fun, and hopefully it'll kind of start to tick off.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really great just for the listeners. If you look up Game Night Picks on YouTube, you might have to still search Paradise. I'm not sure how it'll come up. If it's
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But it's very formatted for watcher participation, audience participation. You can play along with the games they're playing, and it's I've watched a few of them. It's testing your own board game knowledge, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I have a really good time filming them, so I'm glad people are enjoying watching them.
So if there was one thing that you would want to maybe provide some insight on to anybody listening, for if they watch YouTube and they know some personalities, anything that you'd want to share for people listening, that what it's like to be a YouTuber about board games, content creation, just to open up their mind space a little bit.
Oh boy.
Not a small question,
Oh, gosh, here's something I'll say. Remember that the people you're watching are just people who love games, and they might not get everything right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing my best to get the rules right, but I probably got something wrong. And remember, when you're playing, before you come into the comments to be like, you did this wrong, you call yourself a... How many times do you get your games perfect when you play? You don't know because no one's watching to then later tell you what you did wrong. So we're just doing our best. We're just trying to have fun.
I was listening to a podcast and the host was like, you record yourself for 48 hours and then come back and tell me how many things you said wrong. Like, yeah, no, for real.
Well, I think that's a great way to kind of cap off a conversation about just making board game stuff and learning a little bit more about you, Paula. It's been fun. And you're going to stick around with us for the rest of the episode, I think.
I am going to stick around. And
Amazing.
Thanks for just letting me talk about myself and games. Y'all...
And wheezing.
Y'all know, because you're... And wheezing. Getting to work in a space that is... Like, my job is to play games. And sometimes, right, you're like, oh, this is my job and work sucks. But, like, then you're like, but my job is to play games. And that's pretty flippin' good. You know what I mean? So, like, that's pretty lucky.
Thanks, Paula. I'm looking forward to the eventual release of Murderous Molly.
Yes, I can't wait to make a reappearance, and hopefully they'll bring me back, and I'll get another little day rate,
There you go.
on Grey's Anatomy.
There you go.
All right, Gleeples, this game of the show is Architects of the West Kingdom. Architects of the West Kingdom is published by Garfield Games. It was designed by S.J. MacDonald, and that is like had a farm and not that silly burger shilling clown. And Shem Phillips. Art was by the Miko. It was released in 2018, plays 1 to 5, but it's at its most gleeful with 4. So that means, y'all, at 4 players, we had the best experience we could hope for with this game. JK, walk us through Architects of the West Kingdom.
Architects of the West Kingdom is a worker placement game primarily, where you start out with a pool of 20 workers, way unlike most worker placement games. Now, this game does feature your standard locations where you're going to get supplies such as wood, stone, gold that you're going to use towards creating buildings within the West Kingdom. To do buildings, you're going to send one of your workers permanently up to the building section and either make a building from a selection of cards that you've drawn or purchased, or build a part of the cathedral. Now, the fun part about this worker placement game is you are also tracking your virtue. Are you a very pious person or a darker person? There is a black market that you can buy things from at the expense of your virtue. And there's also the cathedral, which if you go to the black market too often, you're too scoundrelly to build a part of the cathedral. The highlight of this game, though, is the fact that there is a town center. And if you go to the town center, you can look at any other worker placement spot on the board and steal all the players from that spot, putting them onto your personal board. From there, your opponents can either purchase their players back at a sharp cost, or you can send them to prison, making money for yourselves. The game will play until all of the building spots have been filled, so it's on a timer. Once that's done, whoever has the most points wins. Build the cathedral, be a good guy, be a bad guy, or just send people to jail. Architects of the West Kingdom.
Thanks, JK.
Thanks, JK. Good rundown.
That was a great overview of the game.
He's
He's
good at it.
very good at that.
No notes.
He always does it on the top of his head.
No prep.
It's like, wow, you said you had no prep and you just came out with that.
Yeah,
it was great.
Even better, I think we played this almost a month ago, so that was all strictly from memory.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
this was my first playthrough of the game. I love worker
Same.
placement games, and I really thought the mechanic of how your workers are recycled in the game through the capturing or releasing and the what is the town center board spot where you can take some of your own guys back. That was brilliant. And to start with that pool of I think it was 20 20 workers, it's unlike any other worker placement game that I've played, because a lot of them share a lot of similarities, and this one is very different.
No, that's what, like, it was harder for me to learn the game because I kept comparing it to other worker placement games.
Oh, it's like when you play a deck builder that it makes you draw 6 cards instead of 5 cards. It's like, no, there are standards for a reason.
That's wrong.
Yes, exactly. I loved that. It was just like, we're just going. Because this happens very often. It's like whoever brings the game, and JK brought the game, teaches it, and then like as soon as we start playing, I ask something that was like already, I was like, so the game just ends when we lose our workers? And JK's like, no, you can get them back. And I was like,
at a cost.
It actually took me a minute to figure out, like, there's no end around or anything. We were just going to keep going and getting workers back through various means presented to us on the board. Really, really cool dynamic.
Which I was trying to think. I think it's been a while since I've played a game that like doesn't have rounds.
I know.
Like that.
Yeah, with your workers, once they are captured by someone, you can go to the prison, and even though your workers are not in prison, you can pay, I think it's 6 coins. 3 of them go to the bank, 3 of them go to the tax stand, and you reclaim all your workers from the player. Or you can wait until they're back in the prison, which doesn't cost you anything to get them out of there, but it's a slower process to get them back on your board. So you've got a couple options. On how to get them back.
Then it timing is so key in this game, because it's just like, because I had a few options where it's like someone rounded up my workers, and it's like, okay, do I take it from them or do I wait for them to get in prison and then try to snag them before the black market effect is triggered? Yeah.
And one of the key elements to the game with all of the worker placement spots is that when you put your first worker out there, let's say I have the quarry. When I put my first worker there, I'm getting 1 stone. My second worker now gets me 2 stones. My third worker will get me 3 stones. Yeah. So the more you're putting onto one spot, the more lucrative it is for you, but also the bigger target it paints on your back, because it gets juicier to get all those workers out of there.
I think that's like the most interesting part of the worker like investment almost of this game, right? Is is that you keep wanting to put more in that place because you're going to get more from it. Yeah, I think that's the most interesting part of the game to me, is the way you're investing your workers in where you're putting them.
And I don't know if JK mentioned it, but when if you come too spicy out there, because thematically what happens is someone goes to the town center and kind of rings the alarm, and tattletales and says, "Hey, there's a ruckus. There's a ruckus over there." Yeah, and so they go and grab them. So if that's happening and someone does do that and they take all your people and, like JK said, send them to prison, you get coins for every person that you place in prison. And what can really happen is that, they go to the town center and they can not just take one group of people, but depending on player count, take multiple groups of people. So if they've done the town center action a few times and have a lot of player pieces on their own board, they can go to the prison, turn in 10 people to prison and get 10 coins, which is a pretty big payday.
So, and then the other way to get a bunch of money, which Dwayne utilized several times, is the tech stand, where it's just like the money just keeps piling up on this stand, and every time the three of us would think about taking it, Dwayne's like, nope, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I had no concern for my morality in that
but what's
game.
the cost of stealing from the tax stand, Dwayne?
Yes, the detriment of the tax stand is that you do lose a point of virtue every time you do it.
Yeah.
Was it virtue or piety?
We waffled through the whole game on what it was, and looking it up, I believe it's virtue. I was just calling it piety the entire game.
Verpiety.
Yes, Dwayne was going there, going low. I was going to the black market and losing piety or virtue. So
and then
Dwayne
I was our most virtuous player.
A lot of times when I am learning a new game, I don't especially if I'm playing against somebody who's played a lot, I'm probably not going to win. So I'm just going to pick a strategy and say, no, not really chaos. I don't, because my goal is not to to ruin other players' time, but it's like, what happens if I try this strategy? And if it's a good enough game and I play it again in the future, hopefully I have learned something going into my second play, and I'm a better player for it.
Yeah, one of the unique things that this does as well that breaks the rules of a lot of other worker placement games, along with giving you all of your workers at the beginning, is other than the 3 black market spaces, there's no worker placement blocking. Mm-hmm. Everybody can go to all the locations all the time. So the board always feels open. You can kind of find an avenue to get what you need, do what you want. But it just comes at some of those costs sometimes. But that made it really easy to play.
The exception to that, too, is the building of the cathedral, which is going to get you a lot of points at the end of the game. It's structured so that if you are an early builder to the cathedral, players have a harder time getting past you in that building process.
That's this might be my favorite worker placement game. It takes away everything that
makes me so happy.
It takes away everything that stresses me out about worker placement games. For a while, Paula, I was just I had it in my head that I did not like worker placement games.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know what it is. They stress me out. I don't like them. I don't enjoy them. I think all of this was
I know what it is.
What?
I know what's stressful about it, right? You plan your turn, and then the person right before you puts their worker where you were going to go, and now it's your turn. Everyone's like, go, and you're like, I can't, because I spent the last 20 minutes of y'all taking your turns planning something, and then Jerry over here ruined it. So now I need to spend 20 minutes thinking about what to do. That's stressful.
This is y'all's fault,
and you
not
have to do that
mine.
in this game.
Paula, I'm so glad you said that, because I still remember my first experience with a worker placement game was Kalis, and this was probably 20 years ago.
Oh, boy.
As I was playing that, I realized what I loved about it was the whole game was basically the setup phase of Settlers of Catan, where you're watching the spot where you're going to go, and then the person right before you goes to that spot, and you're like, well, now I don't know what to do. Yep. I'm going to sit here and
I won't play.
I'm going to count how many times I can roll a 6 and a 3 and a 2 on a 12-sided die, on a 2d6. Yeah. But that's what I love about worker placement. Are you having an asthma attack?
I am. I think I am.
Tripod.
We learned it, yes.
Oh, man.
Stupid Jerry always takes the best moves.
But yeah.
Jerry.
Were there any downsides to the game, guys?
Looking back on it, I will nearly agree with you, Emily, on it's
Nearly.
when it comes to what favorite worker placement game. I don't know if I'd say favorite, but It's one of my favorites from the sense of it really provides a worker placement experience that no other game does. And it is that perfect medium weight worker placement game. It's not light. It's not heavy, right? I mean, the heavy version of this would be Paladins of the West Kingdom,
right?
Right. So we didn't mention it. This is of the West Kingdom. So it's one of the games in that trilogy. This is the first one. The second one was
Paladins.
Was Paladins second?
Paladins was second, and Viscounts.
Okay.
was third.
and then
third.
Viscounts. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're a bit more complicated. Paladins is actually often called out as kind of being their best game, even including the newer trilogies. But this is before they started getting heavy.
Really?
My brain can't do it. That's not the game we're talking about right now.
I
But
loved
my
Paladins.
brain can't keep track of the purple thing you need to do now, because that means that in the next turn you can do the blue thing, which means in the next turn you can do the white thing. So next turn you can do the yellow thing, and that's what you wanted. I'm like, I cannot plan that far ahead.
Especially
Now
with
throw
Jerry.
3 drinks in at a Tennessee game days with 11 o'clock at night and call it brass instead. That's
that was my 11 p.m. TGD game was Paladins.
Oh, yours was Paladins?
Yeah, but I was somehow able to make it through the game. Wait, no, that was Seafarers. That also from the same people. But no, Paladins, I love Paladins.
Y'all, monikers only after 11 on
Honestly.
Saturday night. Come on.
Yes.
What are y'all doing?
Especially if they're Mexican.
So-
Like where your head's at, Dwayne.
Dwayne, any negatives for you on Architects?
Nothing comes to mind, really. I felt like it kept a good pace all the way through the game. Sometimes we have played some things and things kind of fall apart in the end game. It starts taking a little too long. This played really well all the way through. I will say it's not my favorite worker placement game. I'm going to give that to Brewcrafters just because of the theme.
Oh, that's
but
fair.
also because it is so different from what traditional worker placements do, it loses what I love about worker placement, which is what Paula talked about, that idea of like, I need one spot. I am going to sit here and pray to whatever gods I believe in that spot is not taken before it's my turn, and that's just not present in this game as much. I would agree to that, because the comparison would be either your people getting rounded up, so then you were really hoping to get that third worker on the spot, and then they get rounded up before you can like cash in on that lucrative prize. That's sweet lumber.
And then the tax stand. If someone's gunning for that money and then you took it before we could, then it's like, okay, well, now I'm broke for 3 more rounds.
I think, Paladins does get a lot of love in the gaming community. I think Architects is my favorite Shem Phillips game, hands down.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to play all 3 again.
Yeah, I think it's a great evolution from Raiders of the North Sea. It was worker placement again, but right before they started getting really experimental with heavy games. And it just hit that sweet spot. So I don't have a lot of negatives. It's always going to be in my collection. So I guess if you want to go to final thoughts.
Well, yeah, Paula, our rating system here is we either keep it to play or trade it away. Would you like to give us
I
your
like
rating
it
on
because
this?
it rhymes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's marketing right there.
I would keep this to play.
All right.
And I'll just keep going since I've already said it. Definitely keep it to play for me. It'll always be in the collection.
I'm going to keep it to play. I've said this before. I want to play all of the trilogies, all of the games in every trilogy that Garfield has been releasing.
Oh, it's a keep it to play for me. I was pleasantly surprised.
No brainer here. Of course, it's keep it to play for me. So we are 5 out of 5
Wow.
on the Glee Meeple.
That's really
For
nice.
the first time.
We don't get 5.
Wow.
So, as we all know, this is our season 2, so whoever came in second gets to pick the next game of the show. And how is that leaderboard?
Well, my rating the tax stand strategy did not pay off, so I came in last.
I did not do a great job of picking a lane and staying in it. I think I was a little bit too scattershot in this game, so I did not finish where I expected to be.
And I finally lost a game this season.
There we go.
Hey.
Wow, what a humble brag. I
know. There's a story. There's a story behind it. There's a story.
It's all season 1. It was whoever won the game got to pick the game, and James won the least amount of
I
games.
hardly ever won last season.
We had to adjust our rules for season 2.
And then so we adjust, and then James starts winning like every game.
for season 2.
Like,
But-
they changed the rules so I could pick something, and now I'm still not picking anything.
Exactly.
So I came out on top this time, and I was so excited. I picked my lane. I was like, I'm going to be as virtuous as possible. I'm going to build that cathedral, and
I think building the cathedral is important. Yeah.
It really
I
is.
could not get past you in that,
and
no
then
matter how hard I tried.
I also had another card that just synergized very well with being pious, so that I could do some of those like things that would like lower your virtue, and then I had a card that just helped bring it back real fast. So that strat worked out well for me, and now James gets to pick a game.
I do. So I brought a game that I think you're all gonna like. I know one of you already does, but it's a game that, for those that play it, seem to really like it, but it doesn't pop up very often.
Okay.
The designer is Tom Lehman, and it's a card game where you end up with just 8 cards you play with the entire game. And this game is called Res Arcana.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
I have not
excited.
played this, so
I
I'm
have not
interested
played
to
this
see how it
either.
goes.
It's a lot of fun. You're really trying to make the most with what you have.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's Res Arcana coming soon.
All right.
Fantastic. Speaking of future games of the show, is there a game you'd like us to play, or do you have thoughts about Architects of the West Kingdom, Res Arcana, or any other game we've talked about on this show? Shoot us an email for a chance to have your comments read on a future episode. That email address is pod@gleefulmeeple.com.
So I think we've talked enough about games that it's time to play a game on air. No, not a board game.
A game about games.
Thank you.
Wow,
I
good
was like, I don't
save.
have my notes in front of me,
Emily, you only say this every 2 weeks. Come on.
and I read it
I
every
know,
time.
that's why I have mine. Yes, I appreciate that. Who prepared
hold
the
on,
game
hold
challenge?
on.
Oh, sorry,
I'll
I
do
got
that one again.
excited. Where are we?
Not a board game, a game about board games. This week, our special guest, Paula, has brought us a game challenge.
Hey! This is a game that we play on This Game is Broken. And I thought it would be funny. This is just guess the game from the review. So I have gone to Board Game Geek, and I have picked some games that I've heard you mention on the podcast before, either because you've guessed them in other game rounds or because you've talked about them on the show. So hopefully you actually will know the games. And I think it's very funny to read people's negative reviews.
Okay.
So these are all reviews taken from like 1 ratings. If you're
this is
listening
gonna
and
be
you
good.
hear me read your review, I'm not making fun of you, but I kind of am because you're silly. You're a silly person.
What
So-
broke you? Yeah.
Just the things, some of the things people say. And so I will read some snippets of reviews, and you can guess.
Chime in.
Guess
Okay.
what game?
This
sounds
what game you think it
amazing.
is.
I can't wait to hear
So-
all the personalities from BGG 1-star reviews.
All right. We'll start with this one. This is a shorter one. Some of them are a little longer because I just thought they were funny. This one's short. I have no idea who these book characters are. The plastic props kept falling over. Boredom in a box. Imagine Go Fish with 11 suits and every card has a different text effect.
Book characters, 11 suits.
Plastic pieces.
Does Red Rising work? I have not
It
played
is Red Rising.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes.
Red Rising.
I'm sure there are other games based on
I
book series, but
love Red
that is the
Rising.
one I think of every time I hear
That is
book
true.
series.
Yeah.
That was the main clue I was hoping.
Yep. Yep.
Like, I have just going on to Board Game Geek. I have no idea who these book characters are. All right, here's another one. This one's a little longer. Played through it once and realized I already owned this game and logged 40 plus hours with it on my PC. What a waste of money. Not exactly a board game, perhaps more a piece of post-humanist performance art you have somehow signed up to act out for yourself.
Slay the Spire?
It is Slay the Spire.
Okay, that was my guess too. Yeah.
Somehow I put 40 hours into this PC game, but I bought the board game not knowing I'd already play it. I don't know how that works.
It's really, there's more. I was like, I won't read all of this.
Oh my word. It was like at some point you just like
people
stopped
are
reading
mad.
the title on your PC. Like, oh, that's great.
I guess some people don't think it's different enough from the video game was the impression I got. All right, here's one. I want to get into Euros, but this ain't it. If your definition of a good evening is drawing hands of low-impact cards and waiting patiently for your turn to play them with almost no interaction between players, then you have finally found the perfect game for you.
Is this Space?
No, but thematically, you're not far off. Okay. I'll read a little more. Drafting phase is pointless. Game is basically grab a few good cards to start, wait to manipulate the air and water, then play your big VP points to win.
Go ahead, Emily.
Downtime is huge. Game is boring, especially due to the awful components, tacky artwork, and themeless design.
Well, that's why I was thinking Terraforming Mars.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. Air and water, oxygen. Yep.
Oh.
Low impact cards. That's what we have a friend that has optimized the heck out of Terraforming Mars. Played it with him, and afterwards he gave me a performance review.
Oh no.
Oh good. Fun. Okay, here's one. It's not a bad game, as Eurogamers appear to like the fact that your choices were few and that you often could not do what you needed to do. People are so salty. I've only played this once, and at 5 players. But the central conceit about the 2 hikers and the dragging of the last hiker to the end
We know this one.
led to some bad situations where the last 2 players could form an agreement to take every step along the path once they were the only 2 players remaining.
That would be Parks.
How do you get salty about Parks?
It's so cute.
I was shocked the number of salty reviews for Parks. And this one I included because it made me laugh so much. Just like, this led to some bad situations where the last 2 players could form
Like
an agreement to
collude.
take every
Yeah.
step. It's like, you rated this game a 1 because you played with people
bad
who are
friends.
jerks.
Blame your
was-
better friends.
I started getting
Yeah,
nervous.
like that's not the fault of the game.
The first 3 sentences you read sounded almost verbatim about me and Grand Austria Hotel, so I got very nervous. I was like,
oh,
I've
no,
never
is this my
left a
review?
review at BGG, but for a second I was like, did I?
Did I write this? I mean, look, I get it. It's just so funny to me the way people write these. Okay. Solitary and boring, crossing off the boxes on the paper sheets in the company of other players doing the same in silence at the same table. No board, no interaction, no emotions, no fun. Thank you. I will solve the crossword or Sudoku and invite my friends to the real game.
That's Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah.
It's got it.
Amazing.
I was about to say, I feel like one of our friends told us that.
Listen, the thing is, everything they're saying is true, but for me, makes it a 10 out of 10 game.
All right, I got a couple more. Here's one. Horrible hodgepodge of mechanics. No interaction. Modern Euro. Basic trend chasing abomination.
Wow.
Just, no game is
That
an
is
abomination.
such a dig.
The theme is fun, but far too lightly applied and doesn't make any sense with the mechanics, especially the whole exploring temples part. The deck building is pathetic. You will only end up adding 2 to 3 cards to your deck the whole game. And the fact that the item row is intentionally designed to seize up is incomprehensible to me.
It's got to be Lost Ruins of Arnak.
It is definitely, yeah.
And this is where I'm like, I feel like maybe you just weren't playing the game right. Like, I've watched people who are good at this game play this game, and they add a lot more cards to their deck. Like, you're just not playing it right.
That happened to Dwayne and I. We played a deck builder. We're like, man, that lasted like 3 hours. And Dwayne starts reading reviews, and they're like, we really like the game. It just goes too fast.
I was like, oh no, we have
It
made a
goes too
mistake.
fast. You're like,
Yeah.
what have we done wrong? We did
Yeah.
something wrong.
I think it also happens sometimes where people go into a game wanting it to be one thing,
Yeah.
which the game isn't.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
then they play it, and the game just is what it is, but it's not what they wanted, and so they hate it
Yeah.
for that. Rather than recognizing, oh, I can't play this well and do well if it's not the game that I want it to be. So
Yeah. I wanted the game to do something else, and so I wasn't interacting with the mechanisms in the way that makes the game
Work.
shine.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here's one last one. I find childish artwork marketed to adults very unsettling. When everyone has a different way to win, forget about learning how to play from people who know the game better than you do, especially if they don't know how you win with your faction. There are many better ways to spend your evening than giving yourself a migraine. You have a
Root.
guess?
Oh, you're gonna say root?
No. What is the animal? The war game animal?
Root.
one?
Root.
It is
Root.
root. Okay, yeah. Root.
It is root.
So,
Yes.
what were you
go.
thinking?
Here's one last line.
I thought it was Wonderland's War.
Oh,
I see that. Here's this last sentence. I'll just give you the last sentence that I didn't read. It is a great game for all the closet sociopaths that want to spend 2 hours learning the rules so they can spend 2 more killing small animals with their friends.
oh, that is a treat. Yeah, I just remembered like when we talked about it on the show, it was like, oh yeah, you just tricked a bunch of like board gamers into playing a war game by making it super cute and about animals.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, boy.
It sounds like whoever wrote that one needs some a safe circle to talk some things out with too, though.
Closet sociopath is hysterical.
One of these, I can't remember which game it was, but one where someone literally had one of those, they gave it a 1, and their reason was everyone's always complaining about, bloody game being too heavy. Oh, no, I know what it was. They were like, everyone's always rating Kingdom Death Monster in hate a 1 because of the adult content. So I'm coming into this game and I'm rating it a 1 because it's too family friendly. I was like, y'all, who hurt you?
Yeah.
Who has this kind of
you?
time on their hands? Like, that's how they want to spend it. Interesting.
Cracks me
All
up.
right, then. So they make me laugh, and those are...
Yes. Thank you so
you
much
go.
for bringing those to
I
us.
think my favorite snippet from all of them was trend chasing abomination.
yeah.
Jeez.
Oh,
All right.
that
Tell
is a
us
burn.
How you really
Yeah.
feel. then.
You know, can we give a shout out though to the people who write the 5, 6, 7 comments, because I don't know if everyone's like me, but I check the 1s and I check the 10s, and that's that's about it.
Well,
I
Dwayne,
need to
I
know,
saw you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paula.
I was just going to say, I need to know, like the extremes. What did you really love or what did you really hate? But really, those 5s and 6s, those are the most measured, actually probably helpful
Probably.
reviews you're gonna read.
That's what, like on Amazon, it's like read the 2s and the 4s. Like, yep.
Now, Dwayne, you were marking some hash marks over there. I think maybe keeping score.
Oh yeah, because I was told to at some point. So if this
good,
were,
because I actually wasn't. I'm a great game runner.
that's okay.
I'm our tech person. I'm our producer. I'm our calendar specialist.
She is our jack of all trades, which is amazing. I have JK at 3, and Emily and I tied at 2. Whoever this other J is looks like he has no points by his
The
name.
participant. It's the participant.
Got a ribbon of participation.
We were very excited though, James. I think you definitely knew some of those, and we just overshot
very
you.
enthralled in the listening to the review.
That was a lot of fun, Paula. Thank you so much for bringing that game.
Oh, thanks for humoring me with reading a bunch of negativity out onto your podcast.
Is that going to do it for today, guys?
Yeah, I think that's the
we've
show.
hit the point.
Well, first off, for starters, thank you, Paula Deming, for joining us, not just for an interview segment, but for hanging out for the entire show. This was a great way to spend a Saturday morning.
Oh, I had a blast. Thank you so much for having me on and letting me talk so much.
If our listeners wanted to go find you somewhere on the interwebs, where can they go?
Yeah, if you go over to YouTube and type in Paula Deming, Paulademing, or Things Get Dicey. That will bring up all the YouTube videos that I do, and then from there you can find basically everything else. Oh, you can come over to twitch.tv/Paula Deming, where I stream video games and board games live every week. So you can find me there as well.
We also want to thank our sponsor for this episode. That is Clampett Oil. Yes, it's Clampett Oil, founded by Jed Clampett, poor mountaineer, struggling to feed his family. One day, while out hunting, took a shot at some game. Up through the ground came a bubbling crude. Black gold, that is. Texas tea. That's Clampett Oil.
Wait, I've never actually watched that show, but are you saying he started a whole oil company from finding oil in his backyard?
Shooting at some food.
I mean, I thought I just figured he'd
legit.
sell the oil. Okay, anywho.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can email us at pod@gleefulmeeple.com or find us on Instagram at gleefulmeeplepod. Also, come check us out at events throughout the Nashville area throughout May and June. We are going to have plenty. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks, Paula. Y'all have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Gleeples.